The frontier morning carried a cold that felt older than the land itself, an iron-sharp chill rolling off the white plains, creeping through every crack in the Harper cabin. The year was 1865. Though out here time didn't move by calendars, it moved by winters, by storms, by the way the wind howled against the lonely door as though asking to be let in. 7-year-old Emily Harper pressed her small palms to the frost-coated glass and breathed a soft cloud onto it, drawing a crooked sun that barely looked warmer than the real one outside. Her breath trembled. She wasn't cold. She was used to thin blankets and thinner fires, but something in the air felt strange, like the morning was holding its breath. Behind her, her mother stirred the weak porridge, each scrape of the wooden spoon sounding too loud in the quiet cabin. Martha Harper was only 28, but the frontier had aged her eyes. They carried a tiredness that sleep could never mend. Emily's father, John Harper, 34, paced near the hearth, running a hand through his unshaven beard, as though trying to smooth the troubles out of his mind. "We'll ride to the trading post tomorrow," he muttered. "Can't stretch flour this thin." Her mother didn't answer. Silence hung for a moment. Then her father sighed and stepped out to check the barn, tugging on his coat as the wind fought him for the door. Emily waited for the usual whistle he used when he wanted her to come help, but it didn't come. Instead, the wind carried something else, a sound that didn't fit morning chores. A low cough, a shuffle, a weary breath. Emily wiped the frost off the lower part of the window and leaned closer. A figure stood near the edge of the yard, not moving, not threatening, just shivering. The man looked ancient, as though carved out of weathered bark and snow. His long gray hair blew in the wind, and his thin buffalo robe clung desperately to his frail form. His legs trembled. He seemed lost, not just from a path, but from strength itself. Emily knew enough to be afraid. Folks around here whispered constantly. Cheyenne sightings, tensions rising, settlers blaming every missing chicken or snapped fence post on the tribes that roamed these plains. Her father called it fear twisting itself into foolishness. Yet Emily didn't see anything frightening. She only saw a man who looked colder than the wind itself. She glanced at the cabin door. Her mother's back was turned. The wind rattled the window. The old man coughed again, weakly, painfully. That was enough. Emily grabbed her small fur-lined coat, the one her father had traded half a season's work for last winter, and slipped out quietly. The cold slapped her cheeks the moment the door shut behind her, but she kept moving, boots crunching softly in the snow. The old man lifted his head when he heard her. His eyes, a deep, tired brown, softened with surprise. He didn't step forward. He didn't speak. He simply watched, too cold to do anything else. Emily stopped a few feet from him. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't thinking about tribes or danger or rules. She was thinking about how his hands shook. "Sir, you look cold," she whispered. He blinked slowly, his breath unsteady. Emily tugged off her coat. Her fingers fumbled. It was stiff from the frost, but she held out with both hands. "For you." For a long moment, he didn't move. Then the old man lifted a trembling hand and touched the coat gently, as though it were a sacred thing. He pressed his palm to his chest, a gesture she didn't understand but felt meant something. Emily smiled, shy and proud. "Mama says you shouldn't stay out in the cold too long." The elder opened his mouth to speak, but only a rasping breath came. He bowed his head instead. Then she heard her father shout from the barn, "Emily!" She flinched. The old man stepped back, fading into the drifting snow, like he had never been there at all. She didn't even see how he moved, only that he was suddenly gone. Her father's boots pounded through the snow. "What are you doing out here without? Where's your coat?" Emily looked down at her empty hands. The cold hit her in a sudden wave. She swallowed. A man was cold. He needed it. Her father's jaw tightened. His eyes scanned the snow around them, every muscle stiffening with fear he tried to hide. "When?" he demanded. "Just now." He lifted her into his arms and hurried her inside. He didn't shout, didn't scold, but the way he barred the door behind them told her enough. He was scared, and Emily didn't yet understand that sometimes fear could be more dangerous than the cold. Night fell heavy and mean. The wind grew even sharper, slashing at the cabin walls. Emily curled by the fire with a blanket wrapped around her, but her mind kept drifting to the old man, whether he had warmth now, whether someone had found him, whether her coat helped at all. Her father stood guard by the window, rifle in hand. The sun had barely set, yet he watched the dark as though it were full of teeth. "You're sure he was alone?" he asked for the 5th time. Emily nodded. He looked sick. Her father exhaled slowly, troubled. When the first knock came, it wasn't gentle. It rattled the cabin door like someone was trying to break it. Her mother froze. Emily's heart thumped in her throat. Her father unbarred the door, only a crack. 3 settlers stood outside. Orrin Pike, 42, with whiskey on his breath. Clay Turner, 30, and young Sam Crowell, barely 19 and already with anger burning through his eyes. Orrin spat into the snow. "Heard a Cheyenne elder was spotted near your place today." Emily's father stiffened. "Didn't see anyone." Orrin smirked. "Funny. Folks said they saw a little coat on him. Looked like your girl's." Emily felt her mother's hand grip her shoulder. Her father didn't answer. Orrin leaned closer. "They're casing us. Testing how fast we spook. We're going to make sure they learn we ain't spooked easy." Emily felt something cold settle in her stomach. Her father's voice hardened. "Leave my family out of whatever you're planning." Clay Turner grinned. "Didn't say it was a plan. Just a precaution." The men walked off toward the barn, shadows wobbling from the lantern Orrin carried. Her father muttered, "Damn fools," and snatched his rifle from the wall. Emily followed him to the window. Darkness swallowed the yard, but she saw the lantern bobbing near the barn. Then she heard it, a crack, then another. Her father cursed. "They're firing into the barn." Emily's mother gasped. "The animals!" Her father stormed out the door, Emily at his heels despite her mother's shout. The wind blasted them with snow and smoke. Smoke? Where? A gunshot ripped the air. Then another. The men were drunk, angry, shooting at shadows. Emily froze near the porch. Then came a sound behind her. A shuffle, a breath, a cough. She turned. The old man was there, shivering, pale, her coat tied around him loosely. "Sir," Emily whispered. He met her eyes. Then everything happened at once. Orrin Pike turned, wild-eyed and drunk, saw the old man's silhouette, and lifted his rifle. Time seemed to slow. Emily stepped toward the elder. The rifle cracked. Something heavy slammed into her. She hit the ground hard, snow exploding around her. For a moment she couldn't breathe. Then she saw him, the elder, collapsed beside her, blood blooming through the sleeve of her little coat. He had thrown himself in front of her. Her father roared in fury, tackling Orrin. Clay dropped his gun and fled. Young Sam froze, horrified. Emily pushed herself up, breath shaking, and crawled to the old man. His eyes fluttered open, pain etched deep. "You saved me," she whispered. He placed his hand over hers, weak but warm. Her father knelt beside them, face pale. "We need to get him inside." But before they could move him, distant drum beats rolled across the plains, slow, steady, unmistakable. The Cheyenne were coming, not in anger, not yet, but they were coming. And dawn would bring a reckoning. The sky had barely begun to lighten when the drums stopped. Silence fell so complete it felt alive. Emily stood with her mother at the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the horizon shift from black to gray. Her father walked ahead of them, rifle lowered but ready. Snow drifted gently, muffling sound, softening the world. Then shapes appeared through the pale morning haze. For Cheyenne riders, moving in a slow, deliberate line. Their horses stepped lightly, breath steaming in the frigid air. They were not attacking. They weren't hiding. They came with purpose. Emily's heart hammered, but she didn't feel fear, only an ache. Worry for the wounded elder resting inside on their only good blanket. The riders stopped 10 yards from the porch. The leader, a tall man in his 30s with long black braids and a hawk feather in his hair, held up an open hand in peace. Behind him, 2 riders carried bundles wrapped in skins. The last rider dismounted and approached the porch alone, slow, respectful. He couldn't have been older than 20, his face calm but full of concern. He placed his palm over his chest, then pointed gently toward the cabin. Emily stepped forward despite her mother's gasp. "He helped me," she said softly. "I gave him my coat." The young warrior nodded. Then the two riders opened their bundles. Blankets, food, medicine. They laid them in the snow like offerings at a sacred altar. Emily's father swallowed hard, lowering his rifle completely. The leader dismounted and approached her father. His voice was steady, accented but clear through the interpreter who stepped forward. "Your child showed warmth in a winter that is none. Our elder lives because of her. We honor that." Emily felt her chest swell with something she didn't fully understand. Something powerful. Something bigger than the cold morning around them. But behind her, she heard footsteps crunching in the snow. Settlers gathering, whispering, watching. Suspicion rising like heat from a fire. The leader looked at Emily one last time and nodded, a solemn bow of gratitude. Then he spoke 4 words that chilled the air. Kindness has a price. And Emily didn't yet know what that price would be. But she would soon. The morning broke slow and reluctant. The pale winter sun, pushing through a sky thick as milk. Emily stood on the porch wrapped tight in a wool blanket, shivering from more than cold. Her breath drifted like smoke as she watched the Cheyenne riders approach in a quiet line, their silhouettes blurring through the lifting mist. Her heart thudded at each soft hoofstep, yet she felt no fear. Only the same ache that had followed her since last night, the fear she nearly saw the elder die in her place. Her father stood ahead of her, his rifle lower but ready, his jaw clenched so tight it looked carved from stone. Her mother hung a trembling hand on her shoulder, eyes darting between the warriors and the door where the wounded elder lay inside on their best blanket. The 4 riders stopped a short distance from the porch. They did not shout, did not threaten. Their leader dismounted slowly, his expression carved in calm resolve, a hawk feather trembling in his long black braid. Emily watched him exchange a quiet word with the young interpreter who'd ridden just behind him. The youth stepped forward, lifted a hand in peace, and nodded toward the cabin door. Emily's father didn't speak, didn't move, though she saw the flicker of conflict in his eyes. Trust was dangerous. He'd said again and again, but so was hate. And last night had been proof enough. The young interpreter's voice came gentle as falling snow. "The elder is of our village. We offer healing, not trouble." Emily's mother swallowed hard. "He's hurt bad. Lost a fair bit of blood." The leader stepped forward then, his gaze turning to Emily. He lowered himself to one knee, snow whispering beneath him, and bowed his head in a gesture she didn't understand but felt down to her bones. "Little Dawn Fire," he murmured through the interpreter. "Your coat warmed his body, and your courage saved his spirit. We honor that." Emily's throat tightened. She didn't know what to do with such words, so she nodded and clutched her blanket tighter. The 2 warriors behind him dismounted and laid their bundles carefully in the snow. Blankets, dried meat, herbs, a carved wooden bowl of salve. Gifts, peace offerings. Gratitude shaped into things that could keep a family alive through winter. But the plains carried more than wind that morning. It carried watchful eyes. The Harpers' neighbors had drifted silently near the edge of the yard, half hidden behind bare juniper shrubs and fence posts. Their faces held no gratitude, only suspicion and sharp judgment. Emily saw Orrin Pike lingering in the back, cradling an arm bandaged hastily from last night's brawl. His glare cut sharper than the wind. "You seeing this, John?" he called, voice thick with disdain. "They're starting a trade? A treaty? Or just marking their next claim?" Emily's father did not turn. "They came to help. That's all." Orrin spat into the snow. "Ain't no such thing when it comes to them." The leader of the riders rose slowly, giving no attention to the insult. His gaze drifted toward the barn, its side charred black, smoke still faint in the air. Emily felt her stomach twist when she saw his eyes narrow, not in anger but in understanding. He had pieced together the story, without a word spoken. Then he lifted his chin. "We will take the elder to our winter lodge to heal him," the interpreter translated softly. "Your daughter is safe because he stood when others hid." Emily's father stiffened. "He won't survive the ride." "He won't survive staying here," the leader replied. That truth hung heavy between them. Emily stepped forward before she could stop herself. Can I see him before you go?" Her mother hesitated, then nodded. Inside, the cabin felt too warm, too still. The elder lay on the floor by the hearth, blanket drawn to his shoulders. His face was pale as river stone, eyes closed, breath shallow. Emily knelt beside him, her hands trembling as she reached out. "Please get better," she whispered. His eyes opened just enough to see her. He raised a weak hand, barely touching her cheek with the roughest tenderness she had ever felt. When she left the cabin, the warriors moved with quiet efficiency, lifting him carefully onto a fur-lined travois behind one of the horses. Emily tried to swallow the ache rising in her chest as they secured his blanket around him. Fear tugged at her again. Fear of letting him out of sight, of him disappearing like smoke. The leader noticed. He stepped closer to her father. "She may walk with him a short way," he said through the interpreter. "It will ease his spirit." Her father looked at Emily, looked at her wide, worried eyes, and after a long breath, he nodded. "Only a short way." The warriors turned their horses, snow crunching softly beneath hooves. Emily walked beside the travois, her small hand resting lightly on the elder's arm. His breath rasped, but his eyes opened at the sound of her footsteps. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Snow thickened, muffling their path. After a quarter mile, her father called softly from behind. "Emily, that's far enough." Her steps faltered. She looked up at the elder one last time. "Come back," she whispered. "Please." His hand twitched, as though he heard her even through pain. Then the warriors turned, riding into the pale distance until the blowing snow swallowed them whole. For the rest of that day, the Harpers' homestead felt unsteady, like a wagon on a broken wheel. Emily moved through her chores in a haze, her thoughts drifting to the elder's breathing, the travois bumping over snow, the way he reached for her when she spoke. Her father worked in silence, repairing the barn's burned boards. Her mother cooked what little they had left, smoke from the hearth tangled with the cold that seeped through the walls. By midday, word had spread across the settlement. Some houses shut their shutters in unease. Others opened their doors wide to whisper their anger. Emily heard fragments when she passed near the well. "Children don't know better. That elder ain't innocent. Next time there'll be more of 'em. They'll use the girl as bait." Her stomach knotted. She returned home, cheeks stinging from more than wind. As dusk crept in, the Harpers' cabin glowed faintly, a small island of warmth in an ocean of cold. Emily sat by the window, watching the horizon like she expected to see the tribe reappear. Her father rested in his chair, rubbing his temples. Then he said something that startled her. "Emily, I'm proud of what you did." Her mother looked at him sharply, but didn't object. "Kindness ain't a mistake," he continued. "But people fear what they don't understand. That's what makes times like these dangerous." Emily nodded, though she didn't fully grasp it. She only knew fear made people cruel. As night deepened, distant voices drifted from the settlement, raised, heated, moving toward the fields. Emily's father stood, jaw tightening. That's too many voices for this late. The shouts grew closer. Angry, panicked. Emily went cold. Her father grabbed his rifle. "Martha, keep Emily inside." The door burst open before he reached it. A neighbor stumbled in, Mrs. Keller, trembling, gasping for breath. "The barn! It's on fire again." Spread from the pike place. "The wind's pushing it straight for your pasture." Emily's mother clutched her. "Lord have mercy." Her father rushed outside. Emily followed, unable to stop herself, ignoring her mother's cry. The flames were visible even from the yard, an orange glow eating through the pike barn roof, sparks whipping into the wind, carried like angry fireflies toward the Harpers' land. Men ran with buckets, shovels, blankets, shouting orders drowned by the roar of fire. Her father joined the line of men battling the flames. Emily watched helplessly. Then she heard something behind her, a creak, a groan. She spun toward their own barn. The roof beam, weakened from last night's fire, sagged under the weight of snow. Their barn wasn't burning. It was collapsing. Inside was their last milk goat, trapped. Emily didn't think. She didn't speak. She ran. Her mother screamed behind her, but the wind snatched the sound away. She reached the barn door just as the beam gave way, crashing to the ground in a spray of sparks from a fallen lantern. Flames licked upward fast, catching old straw. Emily froze, then plunged inside. The heat surged around her. Smoke clawed her lungs. She grabbed the goat's rope, coughing hard, stumbling toward the exit. But the doorway blurred. The barn groaned. Something cracked above her. Then a strong arm swept her off her feet. Emily gasped as she was lifted into the cold air. She blinked through smoke and saw him. Not her father, a Cheyenne warrior, the young interpreter from that morning, riding hard from the tree line. He held her tight against him as he leaped from the barn doorway just as the roof came crashing down behind him. Emily coughed violently. The warrior steadied her, voice urgent but gentle. "You are safe." Her father reached them seconds later, face ashen. "Emily, thank God, thank God." He pulled her into his arms, relief trembling through him. The warrior stepped back, but the flames reflected in his eyes with knowledge Emily didn't understand. He turned toward the distant tree line, and that's when she saw them. More Cheyenne riders waiting in shadow, silent, watchful. The interpreter mounted his horse again. "The elder asked we watch over you," he said softly. "His spirit told him you would need help." Emily stared, breath still shaking. "Is he better?" "He lives." It was enough. Her father exhaled shakily. "Thank you. Truly." The warrior nodded once. "We will return." And with that, they disappeared into the night. Emily felt a strange warmth bloom in her chest. Gratitude, wonder, and fear, because she knew what the settlers would say when they learned the tribe had returned under cover of darkness. Her father carried her inside, whispering, "This land's changing, Emily, and we're standing right in the middle of it." By dawn, the settlement pulsed like a hornet nest struck by a boot heel. Word had spread. Someone claimed a Cheyenne warrior had taken the Harper girl in the night, twisting the truth until it became a weapon. Emily sat on the porch steps while men shouted accusations near the well. Their faces were sharp with fear and fury. "They came in the dark. They're watching us." "She's just a girl. She wouldn't know she's being let off." Pike saw riders by the creek again. Emily hugged her knees, wishing she could shout loud enough to silence them all. But no one listened to children. They listened only to fear. Her father argued with the crowd, voice hoarse. "She wasn't taken. She was saved. My barn near crushed her. And if it weren't for that young man, she'd be gone." Orrin Pike shoved forward. "You trust him too easy. That's how families disappear." "That's enough," her father snapped. "You want to blame someone. Blame your own lantern for starting that fire last night." Gasps rippled. Orrin's face darkened. "You watch your tongue." Emily watched them circle one another like wolves in too small a clearing. Her chest tightened. She wished the elder were there, his calm presence, his soft eyes. He'd know what to say to unknot this anger. Instead, the world felt more tangled than ever. By midday, the crowd finally thinned, but tension hung heavy as storm clouds. Her father paced a yard like a man waiting for a war to break loose. Emily stayed close to him, her fingers wrapped in the hem of his coat. Then the distant rhythmic thud of hooves rolled across the plains. Emily turned. 3 Cheyenne riders approached, not with gifts, not with weapons, but with urgency burning through their movements. The young interpreter led them, breath frosting in the sharp air. He stopped a few yards from the porch. The elder calls to the girl. Emily's breath hitched. "He needs me?" "He speaks only your name now." Her father stepped forward, protective instinct rising like a wall. "She's been through enough." The interpreter looked him dead in the eyes. "He saved her life. She saved his. Their spirits are tied. If she comes, it may calm his suffering." Emily tugged her father's sleeve quietly. "Papa, I want to go." He looked at her, really looked, and saw the fear in her, the hope, the weight of everything she could barely explain. After a long moment, he nodded. "But I ride with her," he said firmly. The interpreter bowed his head. "Then come." They mounted quickly, Emily riding before her father on their tired mare, and followed the Cheyenne riders toward the tree line. As they approached the foothills, The world grew quieter, untouched by anger or rumor. Emily felt her fear melt into something else entirely. Wonder. Because ahead of them, nestled between the pines, smoke rising in soft ribbons, lay the Cheyenne winter camp. A place she had only imagined. A place where kindness had brought her. A place where the elder waited. And whatever came next would change all of them. The winter sun hung low over the Harper homestead, casting long shadows across the snow-crusted yard. Emily Harper, small and pale at age 7, shivered inside her thick wool blanket, the wind tugging at her braids. Her hands clutched her father's sleeve, grounding herself in the rhythm of his heartbeat. John Harper, 34, tall, broad-shouldered, rugged beard dusted with frost, knelt beside her, gripping the Winchester rifle tightly, though not yet aiming. His eyes scanned the ridge where Orrin Pike, 42, Clay Turner, 30, and Sam Crowell, 19, emerged, their horses stamping impatiently in the snow. Martha Harper, 28, slender, with tired eyes and brown hair pulled into a tight bun, held Emily close, her fingers trembling as they rested on her daughter's tiny shoulders. The faint glow from the cabin behind them illuminated their anxious faces, highlighting the deep worry etched in every line. Snowflakes drifted gently from the gray sky, swirling in the tense, silent air like witnesses to what was about to unfold. Orrin's voice rang out, harsh and slicing. "Harper, you've been keeping company with savages, I hear." His rifle gleamed under the winter light, and the anger in his eyes made every muscle in his jaw twitch. Clay and Sam fidgeted beside him, uneasy, their youthful faces betraying fear. John rose slowly, shoulders squared, his hand still gripping the rifle, but his stance calm. "They showed mercy. They saved my daughter. That's more than any of you ever did." His voice carried over the yard, firm and resolute. The Cheyenne interpreter, 20, slim with long black braids and a fur-lined leather coat, stepped beside John. His calm presence radiated quiet authority. 2 Cheyenne warriors, ages 28 and 30, stood behind the Harpers, their expression solemn, hands resting on their horse reins, ready but not aggressive. Their stillness contrasted with the tension in Orrin's party, an unspoken reminder that restraint could carry as much power as force. Orrin barked a laugh, spitting into the snow. "Think your friend will shield you from justice? Think mercy will stop a man like me?" Emily gripped her father's sleeve tighter, silent tears forming. John's gaze fell briefly on her, a flicker of warmth softening his rugged features. Then he turned back to the men confronting them. The wind picked up, carrying the faint rhythm of distant drums. All eyes turned instinctively toward the ridge. The sound was steady, slow, insistent, ancient, primal, and demanding attention. Orrin's confidence near faltered, replaced by a flash of unease. Clay swallowed. Sam's knuckles whitened around the reins. From the top of the ridge, frail but upright, came Eagle Walker, age 72. The old Cheyenne elder, his long gray hair whipping the wind, was wrapped in the tiny fur coat Emily had given him days before. His thin frame appeared fragile against the snow, but his eyes held a clarity and power that froze the blood of everyone watching. Behind him, Cheyenne riders formed a solemn line, moving with the discipline and grace of those who understood both battle and mercy. Emily gasped. He came," she whispered, eyes wide, lips trembling. Her mother's fingers tightened on hers, and John's arm slid protectively around her shoulders. Eagle Walker lifted a trembling hand, pointing first to Emily, then to John, then toward the sky. "Peace!" His voice rasped, fragile yet resonant, carrying over the frozen valley. The drums fell silent instantly, leaving only the sound of shallow breaths and the crunch of snow under horse hooves. The interpreter spoke softly but firmly. "No one must die today. We seek only to honor kindness, courage, and mercy." Orrin's face drained of color, his eyes darting from the frail elder to Emily's gaze. You can't scare us with tricks," he muttered, voice breaking. Clay's grip on his rifle slackened. Sam swayed uneasily on his horse, casting nervous glances between the ridge and Emily. The tension stretched thin, a taut wire ready to snap. Orrin's chest rose and fell with rapid breaths, rage battling fear, pride clashing with instinct. Finally, the weight of reason, or perhaps the fear of consequence, broke him. With a curse under his breath, he jerked his reins, spinning his horse away. Clay and Sam followed silently, leaving only the Harpers and the Cheyenne in the yard. Emily ran forward instinctively, leaving her blanket half-trailing in the snow. She knelt beside Eagle Walker, her small hands brushing his frail ones. "Please don't go," she pleaded, tears spilling freely. Eagle Walker's hand moved gently to her cheek. "Little one," he whispered, "your kindness reached farther than any bullet, any hatred. It has touched hearts and changed paths." His voice trembled, not from weakness but from the power of truth. The young interpreter stepped closer, helping steady Eagle Walker. "He leaves with our blessing," he said softly, "but he wishes you to carry this memory." From beneath his coat, he produced a small carved wooden horse, worn smooth by hands older than Emily's father. Emily held it tightly, the warmth of the wood anchoring her at a moment, a tangible token of courage, kindness, and connection. The sun dipped lower, casting the ridge in amber and rose hues. Eagle Walker and his riders began moving westward. The snow drifted lazily around their hooves, catching the light, turning the landscape into a quiet, ethereal canvas. Emily, John, and Martha stood in the yard, watching every figure until they became small specks against the horizon. Emily's tiny hands clutched the wooden horse. Her heart pounded with the gravity of what had just unfolded. She understood, in a way no child should have to, that bravery came in many forms, not only in wielding weapons, but in offering mercy, holding steady, and choosing to act from the heart. John's hand rested on Emily's shoulder, grounding her. "You did well," he murmured. "Better than most adults I know." Martha pressed a kiss to Emily's hair, voice soft. "You've made us proud, little one." The young interpreter lingered for a moment, his gaze following Eagle Walker's retreating figure. Then he approached the Harpers. "The elder wanted you to have this," he said again, nodding toward the wooden horse. "Remember, courage and kindness can shift even the hardest hearts." Emily's eyes glistened. "Will he come back?" The interpreter looked toward the fading line of riders. "If the world allows it." His voice carried the weight of truth, tempered by the knowledge that some stories end, but the lessons remain. The Harpers stood together, 3 figures huddled in the snow. The cabin's warm glow behind them contrasted sharply with the icy plain stretching before them. Yet the chill could not reach the warmth of understanding that had settled between them and those they had touched. Snowflakes danced in the wind, soft and silent, as if nature itself acknowledged the moment. Emily pressed the wooden horse to her chest. "I'll never forget," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. And she meant it. As the sun sank below the horizon, painting the snow in golden and rose shadows, the world seemed to breathe. The valley had shifted. Fear, hatred, and suspicion had been tempered by mercy, courage, and empathy. And the Harper family, forever changed, stood witness to the quiet truth that a small act of kindness, given without thought for reward, could ripple across the wild, untamed frontier. The snow settled, the wind slowed, and the land grew still. But Emily knew, deep in her heart, that the echoes of this day would remain forever. The warmth of a coat given, the fragile strength of a life saved, and the unshakable knowledge that sometimes the smallest hands could alter the course of the world.